All right, what's happening in wrestling world? Ward Wrestling Live, what's up? We're here again. It's another beautiful Friday. I think it's Friday. All my weeks tend to be one day, but I'm here with not just an amazing wrestling mind in our country, but an amazing human being, and you'll understand that when you hear what he's doing for these kids out in Missouri. But he's got a boys and girls team that finished 16-3 and 16-1, so kicking butt out there in Missouri. He's at Rolla High School in Missouri. They've been top 10 last 6 years. He's a gold certified coach. I had no idea what that was until I went and got bronze certified during this whole process, just to kind of learn. But if you don't know what gold certified is, look it up. There's a lot to it. 2019 under 15 world team coach, 2020 Aspen Healthy Sports Index Award, the Missouri Wrestling Association president. He started his program with 26 wrestlers. This past year, he had 113 come out. So doing big things out there in Missouri. Rolla High School coach Marty Hauck. How are you, sir? Thank you so much for coming on, man. It's an absolute honor to have you.
Yeah, no, hey, thank you, man. Thanks for what you're doing. This is great. This is, anytime we get a chance to talk wrestling, we definitely want to do it. And when we can promote kids and promote the sport, that's a win-win.
Yeah, it's been very fun for me. I really wanted to give back to a sport that I found. And my son found actually, and he just fell in love with, and this was my way, and it seems like it's doing okay. I've gotten some just that one story where a guy's like, hey man, you had this guy on and I bought his book and his book is great, whatever, like things like that. Or I had a coach starting a new program that heard some coaches that started a program 5 years ago. It was like, man, I'm gonna reach out to them. They're right on the other side of town from me. I didn't even know they existed, and they're able to reach out and connect, and now they're helping each other. Now 2 programs are going to get helped as opposed to 1. So just little things like that have been amazing, man. It's been awesome. I have no idea who watches and who sees, but people are coming on, and it seems like the feedback is good. So,
well, that's exactly it. Like you don't see you're unfortunately coaches. We get to see a lot of times we get to see like the end result, but you're planting trees that you're never going to get to see grow. I truly believe that. And it's like, I talked with Mike Clayton, the National Coaches Education Program Director, and he's a phenomenal guy. And you talked about gold certify and coaches at this point in time, and anybody for that matter. I mean, this is a great opportunity. You can get bronze and copper courses for free online. They've opened that avenue up, and Mike Clayton is a phenomenal guy. And we talked about the other day, he doesn't get to see the fruit of his labor all the time because he is so good at what he does and what he's brought to the table. But those connections, exactly that. I mean, you can get online and take your bronze and copper for free right now. You've got, for the kids, for the athletes that are on watching, USA Wrestling, they're doing a development camp. Normally you go out to the Olympic Training Center, and I was blessed enough to get to go out there last year and help that. That's going to be virtual this year, and it's online for $99, and that's, I think, the July 27th through 30th. Coaches, the NWCA, I know Bud Hedenball, he's been on here quite a bit, and with the work that they're doing right now with these virtual clinics, I mean, this is a great opportunity for coaches to grow, parents to grow, kids to grow, and what you're doing, these podcasts and these Facebook Live, social media, I mean, you don't get to see the end result, but it's that networking piece. I mean, I just know, through my work with Mike Clayton and USA Wrestling, the connections that have been made are just astronomical. I mean, it's phenomenal. It's fun. I got my journal here, and, I'm going to be writing and taking notes and, getting ideas, and that's exactly it. So, thank you for what you do.
Yeah, man, I pray, and, I'm humbled by it. Like, people tell me stuff all the time, and I'm like, maybe you guys don't see the other side. Like, I'm a big kid when someone signs up. I'm like, oh my God, I got another person to come on and talk. Like at no time I'm like, oh, people want to talk to me. Like, it doesn't even exist in my thought process, right? I'm just reaching out because I want the world to see that this sport works and it makes a difference for kids and humans. And just in my short period of time through it, I've read and researched some stuff, and I've seen kids come through one end of the pipeline and come out the other, and they've got suits and ties on, and they're going to Ivy League colleges and or just going to college, period. And they would have never had an opportunity before. So the things that I've seen and the people I've met that talk about what wrestling has meant to them has been amazing. And then, I have a son that's ADHD, and ADHD and the wrestling mat works a lot better than medication. So please do not medicate.
Amen.
Yeah, don't medicate. We've never medicated our kid. We've let him fight through his whatever, and the wrestling mat has been his out for that, and it's been tough for him being stuck home, but he's adjusting. But man, I mean, just awesome. But enough about me and my show. I mean, Rolla Wrestling. I got to watch the video you sent me. I got to read some really dope articles about what you do out there. Not wrestling has kind of become, that community center for a town and a county and an area of Missouri that's very ridden with a lot of bad stuff. So it's good to see someone like yourself bringing these kids in. But first of all, talk about Rolla High School Wrestling, your mentoring program. I saw girls and guys both talking about how you make sure they're giving back. And I mean, take it from there.
It's not about us. People ask me all the time, well, you coach wrestling, Yeah, I do, but I coach kids. I don't coach. I coach kids through the sport, and our staff is great. There's no I, it's we. We are very blessed to have, in my mind, the best staff in the state. We've got 2 4-time state champions in Missouri who both went on to wrestle Division I. One was a national qualifier for Stanford, and so both of them went to Stanford, and so now they're in the middle of this turmoil and this adversity that they've got. But the green frame of it there, if you want to put it in a great light, is we've got one more year to battle this and see if we can't get it back. The door's not officially closed yet. We got a year to really push for this. And I think, women's wrestling might be a good avenue for that. I don't know that somebody smarter than me is going to, get to make that choice. But we've got a former head coach who went away for a while, and he came back on. We've got him to jump on as our junior high. We just got junior high added this year. So we're excited about that for next year. It'll be our first year there. We got, another alumni that went off to Wrestle College, and he came back, and he's going to jump on. We got our first female on staff. She came to us from Buffalo, Missouri, and she got to coach the state champion last year, and then now she's joined staff. And it's so great because for all our females, we had 43 females on our women's team last year. And so, 43 girls walked in the room and they saw nothing but male coaches. And we were great to them. Don't get me wrong. We, do anything in the world for them, treat them like they're our own, because that's what it is. I always tell the kids when you walk in, it's like the mafia, once you're in, you're never really out. You're never going to forget that first day you walk into a wrestling room and somebody slams you or whatever the case, you're never going to forget it. And so whether you walk out that first day, which hopefully it never happens, but at the same point in time, or you're in it and you're in it for life, and and you'll, like I said, you're a part of the mafia. You never get out of it. But and so these women are going to walk into our room now and see our coach, and I've explained to Coach Smith that hey, these girls, when they come in, they're looking at you as a role model, obviously, but at the same point in time, they're looking, hey, I'm going to do something better than you. Like, I can do this better than you. I'm going to pass you. And that's what we want. We want to continue to raise the bar. And, these kids that are in the room on the male side, they see these former Division I wrestlers and former 4-time state champions. And, hey, okay, you did that. You were 174-2 in high school. I'm not going to lose. I'm not going to lose. Like, and so they've got goals and they've got ambitions. And, and that was one of the first things I did 5 years ago. I transferred schools. And I switched from St. James, which was my alma mater, and I started the program at St. James, and I left St. James to come to Rolla, which is 10 minutes down the road, and that's a tough decision, but we did, and it's been, one of the best things that's happened to me and my family, the opportunities that became available, and it helped me grow personally. But at the same point in time, our staff, we right now, we got a doctor on staff, Dr. Peterson. He came on staff, and he's going to take over our women's side. I'm mentoring him right now, and he's doing so many great things. And he, like, I teach ISS and weights, and he's like on the upper side of AP. Like his is all like letters. And so it's great because he's got, some of these really, really bright kids that come in, and he does a great job recruiting, and he's, we're all about the kids and relationships. And so, I can get into that a little bit if you want, if you want me to.
Yeah, I mean, I know that, yeah, I know, I read a little bit, and if you want to get into it, I know that there's a few things that are very important that you instill in your program. One is faith, hope, and love. And then the other one is reps. And go ahead and talk about those.
Yeah, sure. So we kind of got like 4 levels, right? And so we started like the elementary. We created a syllabus, our coaching staff. And so we had Coach Fox and Coach Meyer and all the coaches got together. But Coach Fox had a young boy in the program. And so our youth level, and so we got in, and our youth program's been established. And when I came, there were 4 youth clubs. Now we're down to 1. So it's really kind of came together and came together as a community. But we created a syllabus, and so for our first level or whatever is kind of that youth. Then our second level is the junior high piece, which we just got established this next year is going to be the first year for that. Then we go into the high school, and then we got a 4th level that is like our alumni. We got alumni association, and we got our old dogs. And so this is like where you would jump in. You're the ideal old dog for us because you never wrestled, right? And so but your kid did, and your kid got involved. And so what we do is you go to practice, like it's your practice. And so, we've also got our alumni who are former wrestlers who come in. So you've got Division I former wrestlers and people that have never been on a mat, and they haven't even probably done an athletic sport in 10 years coming in on the same mat. We do drills and we teach, just what wrestling is and the lifestyle and those things. And so, but through all of that, and 4 has to give back to 1, right? Like your alumni and your old dogs have to give back to that youth. And it circles through. But through that, our goal of the whole program overall is reps. And there's a hashtag before that because it's the number of reps. When you're a wrestler, you do 5 million takedowns. You do 5 million sprawls. You do 5 million rounds of stance and motion and fundamental work. And so you're doing 1 million repetitions. At the same point in time, like I said, it's part of that mafia. Once you're in, you're never out. And so you're always going to be a representative, and you're always going to remember being a part of and doing those reps. And so, but the reps also stands for our goals. And our goals, I've never seen a kid get on a mat and say, I want to lose and try to lose. I've never seen that. So I don't think that you have to coach winning. Like there's aspects of it. And I ask coaches all the time, like the mental percent. And I've got a sports psychologist, Coach Meyer. He was the Stanford national qualifier and 4-time state champ. And he's got all that. But one of the best things he brings to the table is he's a sports psychologist. And so, if you're saying wrestling is 85% mental, but you're only spending like 5% of your practice mentally, is it really meant? Like, are you coaching in the right way? And so we do spend a big portion. But anyways, our goal is R is for relationships. We're all about relationships. That's the first thing, the connections, the piece that you talk about, what this podcast and this webinar is right here. It's making connections, and people can email me, contact me, whatever. I would love to have feedback because I'm going to pick their brain as much as they pick mine. So, we continue to grow. But the relationships, lifelong relationships. E is for education. We want to be educated in every way: diet, nutrition, mental, physical, everything. You talked about that earlier with the emotional and physical side of the sport. The difference there. And so we got to educate people on that. We just got to educate people, and that's where the old dogs come in. Just educate these fathers and mothers that have never been around it. This is what a takedown looks like. This is the point scoring system. We also put out a video to our school. We do a assembly duel. And before, every kid and teacher in the school has to watch a 2-minute video on the scoring and knowing how to cheer, when to cheer. And so then they come to this assembly duel, and it's right before Thanksgiving break. So they know the last hour and a half of school, they don't have to do anything. They've got to sit there and cheer when they've been taught to cheer, if that makes sense. And it's great.
To jump on top of that, I have a video on YouTube that I did with Cipriano, and I'm hoping that coaches like yourself take it and use it. And I did this from a parent's point of view because I'm in the stands hearing, what the hell was that for? Why did they make that call? What's that for?
Right.
So I had him do the 27 hand signals and talk about why he does it. So it's a video on YouTube, and maybe that'll help too when you're talking to these parents. You send them that little YouTube link. And
yeah, for sure.
Not to cut off, but since you were talking about educating the parents, that's the reason I did it.
Yeah, and it's a big piece because, I mean, you have to understand what's going on. Otherwise, you get frustrated. And so kids get frustrated with sports and then they want to walk out. Well, parents are kind of the same way. If they're going to something they have no idea what it's about and they don't understand that when they go to a tournament, their kid's going to wrestle for maybe 2 minutes. And then they're going to sit in the gym for 4 hours before they wrestle again, at the youth level, right, wrong, or indifferent, But anyway, so that's the education piece. The P is passion. Everything we do has a purpose. Even our shield, a shield protects, right? And you have to have, and I got this from Coach Prater. He's Fonbon's coach and a good friend. He does so many great things, positive guy. But he, you got to have something worth protecting. And so everything we do has a purpose, but passion and passion gets, it's got to be purposeful passion. You have to have a purpose behind that. And I picked this from my assistant coach, Peterson. He talks about it all the time. Like, passion is great, but crazy people have passion, right? And passion can also be a negative thing. So it has to be purposeful passion. And so then the last one is servant leadership. We feel that it's truly important that you got to give back, and that's what wrestling does. You're elite of your elite. Your top level guys. They give back. They're always available. They're always serving others. Coach Mayab is one of my mentors for sure. We talk daily. He gets tired of me, I know, through text and phone calls and everything. But he's always available, just like Coach Clayton is. He's another big mentor of mine. Danny Struck, Kyle Martin. I can go through a list of people, that are truly my mentors that, Clay Frost, he's a sports psychologist in Utah that does phenomenal things. He's got a great podcast, Thriving is what it's called, and the word thriving, and you got to look it up and define it and those things. And, they all do great things, and I pick their brain and they probably get tired of me, but, they're all servant leaders. Like, they're all there for the right reason. It's just like you know what I mean? Like, this is what you're doing. You're trying to get the word out there for not just Florida wrestling, but wrestling in general. And so you're serving the wrestling community, and it's bigger than us, right? And we got to really experience that this year with one of our students. She was a first-year wrestler, and now Sally Roberts from Wrestle Like a Girl contacted us and wanted to get a hold of her, and then the princess in Saudi Arabia wanted to get in touch with her, and so they've it's way bigger than us and anything we've ever thought of or dreamed of. So we're proud of the kids and what they do and the servant leadership that they're doing. We do a lot of things, read, write, wrestle. We do a lot of different things that I'll be talking about at the, actually I'm doing with Danny Struck, another big mentor of mine from Indiana. Danny Struck and I are doing a clinic with NWCA, the virtual clinic. And so that's another great opportunity for coaches and parents and everybody to learn. I think that's another cheap one. It's $100 for a national convention that's going to be online July 29th through 31st. And we're going to do one on recruitment and retention, because a lot of coaches struggle with retention, and recruiting and those things. And so we're going to do a big webinar on that.
I think that's a big thing too, because I know that I spoke with someone yesterday, but I said my Daniel's club coach, Coach Palazzo, said to me, ask these coaches how many kids graduate a wrestler. He says, you'd be surprised how many they graduate, but they just aren't wrestling anymore. And it's, we want these kids, their goal to be, I want to graduate a student athlete, and I want to still be in the wrestling room. So he said, it's amazing how many freshmen come in the door, but when they leave as a senior, they've been out of the room for 2 years or whatever. So retention is huge. Even, I don't know how you do it. Obviously, college sports is a business, and people understand that. But in the coach's mind, most of them, it's also still about the kids at that level and still educating them. But it's difficult because you're still hired by a program and you're expected to win. And it's hard to separate the importance of winning from the importance of educating and growing and creating great humans. So, you can't fault sometimes the way things go just because at that level it's different. In high school, it's different. You're more, your mom, your dad, the high school, they're just happy to have a coach most of the time, right? I mean, and then And then when winning comes, they get addicted to that a little bit and they like it. But for the most part, they got a program and it's working. I think. I mean, I could be totally wrong, but that's what I see through some of this. But it seems like all the college coaches I've spoken to, their passion is the kids and education and putting them in the right direction. But yeah, retaining them in the room, it's tough for them. They've got scholarships, they've got a certain amount of money, they've got budgets, they got to fill a hole, they got to fill a spot. So the kid doesn't want to be there, and they've got a kid that wants to be there. It's difficult to, I'd imagine. How do you keep them on? Do you keep them as a practice partner, as a drill partner? Do you keep them on the mat just to be around it and see if you can get them to fall back in love with it? I don't know.
Well, you know, and those are a couple of things. So you brought up a couple of things that I'm, like I said, you just got to shut me up. Like, I like to talk. I love talking wrestling, and my coaches, I'm sure when they see my number come across their phone, they like mute it, and, you know, their wives and, you know, wives and families. But, you know, but it's one of those things. So I think as a coach, you got to get creative, you know, definitely with this. And so, like, we've got a four-time state medalist. He was a state finalist this year. Had several college opportunities. Great kid. You know, hard worker, just your ideal workhorse. You know, comes to the grind. He's there, ready every day. But he, you know, he didn't want to go to college, and he loves construction, and he loves doing that. And every day is a new day, and that's what he wants, and that's what, you know, he feels that he needs. And so you don't push a kid like that away. Instead, what we did was, hey, Copper and Brown's courses are free. And you know what? My daughter's 6, and the other coaches here on staff, we've got kids in our Little Ninjas program and coming through the youth. And guess what? You know, that state finals match afterwards, we were hugging, and I got to sit there and have a moment with you on a mat, looking at the crowd and looking at where you were and what you accomplished and what you did for the program. You're going to get to do that with these kids if you jump in right now. And so now he's in the process of getting certified and coming back, and that's part of that giving back, that 4 back to 1, you know, because at that moment he did graduate. We kids that are going to the military, like, I mean, you kidding me? Like, you know, and here's a great story with wrestling. This goes back, and I don't know, I'm kind of getting down a rabbit hole here, but I had a kid, and when I first started coaching in St. James, and kid won 1 match all year. Okay, 1 match all year. He was losing 14-0 in this match. He's losing 14-0 to a kid that was ranked number 1 in state. The kid ended up winning state. The kid lost 1 match all year, and it was to James. James was losing 14-0, bridges out of this, and when he did, he turned into a half. Like, he caught the kid's head on his bridge over, sinks in a half, pins the kid. He's losing 14-0. Like, when he turns over, it was 11-0. When he turns over, the kid had got 3 near falls, so it was 14-0. James pins this kid, right? James ends up going into the military. He won in like 40 that year, 1 in 35, whatever. He
1 win is against the state champ.
Right. And so every year when he went off the basic and when he got leave, he would come back and he would come in the room. And anytime an alumni walks in the room, we stop practice and we you know, they talk. What are you doing right now? We do that relationship, right? And they educate the kids on what's going on and those things. And it might be at the end of practice or, you know, whatever. You got to make the appropriate time. But James would always come in, and he would always, from across the room, Coach, you remember that time I beat that state champ? You know, and there was nothing that I could say, because that's like the storybook of wrestling. Like, it's a beautiful thing, you know? I mean, you can come down from 14-0 and win a match against a state champion who the only loss that kid had all year was to James.
And the only win James had all year was
exactly. Like, and so it's, you know, there's always hope. Like, if there's a second on the clock, there's a hope. You know, you go back to Coach Gable's, you know, the day he got good in his story, and he talks about, and we do, you know, the story practice, and we walk through everything with Coach Gable and his story, and it's phenomenal. But, you know, it's one of those things. He was winning. He hadn't lost in 7 years. He was winning by 2 with 30 to go. Like, the odds of him losing that match are like 0. Like, I would have bet a life savings. So would have everybody else, except for the winner.
Yeah. Is that the one with Lee Kemp?
Yeah. No, not Kemp. And so that was Larry Owings. And so, you know, that was Owings. And so it's one of those things that, you've got to believe in yourself, and success comes through failure, and you've got to keep that success. And now success, there's process and product, right? And we truly are, our values are faith, hope, and love. Faith that the coach is doing his job, and faith that the wrestler is doing their job, and obviously you got to have love of the sport and love of everything. And you also have to have hope, and hope is the big key. And hope is, there's a wide range, but hope is your goals. That's where you're trying to go. That's your direction. That's, you're hoping for this. And so it's one of those things, like if you're a competitor, and there's a difference, and I'm a big word guy, right? And if you're a competitor, you think you can do something. You think if you're going to compete, like if you're the pitcher in the bottom of the ninth inning in a high school game, which is only 7 innings, so now you went 2 innings. And I got this from Coach Meyer, sports psychologist, that's phenomenal. I'm mentoring him, but in reality, he's mentoring me. But anyways, and so bottom of the ninth, you're the pitcher on the mound, and the kid at the plate watches it, 3 strikes goes by. If you're a competitor, you're furious because that kid didn't even make an attempt to hit the cheese that you threw at him, and he didn't even put it into play. And so you won because they didn't take it. It's like a kid being down by 1 and never shooting.
Yeah, and I think you see that. I had Brock Hudkins on over at Indiana. He was number 6 in the country last year, 125.
Yep.
He's at whatever the big tournament is that he was at, and he's wrestling the kid from Princeton, and they're in overtime. He's not supposed to win this match, but he's, in his mind, he's gonna do it. And in overtime, he hurts his knee, so they call the match. And you see the Princeton kid in the background, just like, don't even raise my hand. Like, you can see him like, I don't even want you to raise my hand, because the competitive nature in the kid was like, I didn't want to win that way. And you saw that. And Brock talked about it a little bit. And nobody wants, at that level or as an athlete, you don't want to like win by default. You want to wrestle. I see these young kids where there's not a weight. How many times do you have a kid in a weight class and the other team doesn't have that weight class, and the kid's like, why do I have to go out there and get my hand raised? Like,
yep. So
now we make it fun at our school. We're like, yeah, I got the win. Woo! We all start cheering. Yeah, way to go. Way to pin him.
You got to make it fun, and you got to make it, they got to see value in it. Kids got to see value in it for sure. And you have to have something that they want, and kids want everything in the world. Like, I've got a 6-year-old daughter who's like gold. Like, she's everything that, her, to my wife and her. And it's one of those things, like, you walk her in a toy store and tell me what she doesn't want.
Yeah.
Like, what does she not want? And
is she rolling around on the mat yet?
Oh yeah. She's in our Little Ninjas program. She's in gymnastics. She's horseback riding. She's a lot like me, and she's all over the place, and a lot of ADHD going on there, I think. But but it's one of those things that we're blessed. We've got an open adoption, and so we talk to the biological mother, a couple times a year, and so we're very blessed and fortunate. And she's, like I said, she's awesome. She's, and that's added a different perspective to us. Our coaching staff, we've all got kids in the Little Ninjas or the junior high or the high school program now, kind of throughout. And so it's a family, and that's what we look at. And so when we've got these kids that are making these grown-up decisions, we've got kids going to BYU, to West Point, just the senior class here. So, they're going into the military. Like, that's a huge deal. We make a huge deal out of everything they're doing. If they construction, a couple of years ago, we had a kid that had to leave at semester. He ended up having to, quote unquote, quit the program because he graduated, but he was on an internship as an apprentice, in the construction field. That's a huge deal. Like, he's just set himself up for his career and what he wants to do. And that's a win. And so it's part of that process. And not just that product. Don't worry about that gold medal, but it's that process going through. And I think that's where the competitor comes in. Are they competing against themselves? Or are they competing against somebody else? When we've got 11 kids at 132 or 138, you're running 8 kids in a weight class. they're not worried about the kid across from them on the mat. They're worried about the teammate that's about to take their spot if they're not at weight, if they're not doing the right thing. They're worried about the guy behind them. They're not worried about the guy across, and it's that process of just getting better and successes. And our JV team, we go into JV tournaments and we'll send, 2, 3, 4 JV lineups sometimes. And, at tournaments. And when we, go in, we don't worry about the win or loss. We've been working on a setup. We've been working on setup. Let's see your setups. Like, that's what we're tallying. That's what the managers are tallying this tournament. And
Cool.
if we're not, and if we're not getting that, then okay, we need to practice a little longer. And wrestling is a sport that's backwards. Okay. And so you look at it, Major League Baseball on a normal year, this is, COVID's thrown everything, but normal baseball, like your T-ball, you might, your youth baseball is what, 10 games maybe, and then you're 100 plus at the major leagues. And then you look at some youth wrestling kids are wrestling 100 times, and then colleges are wrestling 20, 30 matches, and your Olympians are wrestling 10, and so it's like we're upside down. And so we've got to think upside down, I think, at times.
Yeah. And I before I know Coach Bob Howard wants me to ask, how do you retain the kids that are not initially successful on the mat? But before we get into that, I some tough things like I read some articles about you and what you're doing there with the program. But first of all, talk about you had a state champion, a Saudi Arabian girl, and a baseball player walk into your gym, and they're on your wrestling team. But more importantly, talk about them as people and humans and what they're going through in life to still be able to do that. And how do you have those hard conversations like, hey, I watched my mom do meth this weekend. Like, how do you deal with that and be able to put your arm around these kids and be able to mentor them at a whole different level? This is beyond wrestling, you're in a county that's Phelps County, which is one of the worst in the country for opioid use and things like this. So,
well, first of all, we've got a great community. I mean, I'm going to start with that. Our community is phenomenal. Let's start there. Do statistics, do we have some bad statistics? Yeah. But are we different than any other team across the nation? No. Every team across the nation, every high school team has the same thing that we have. It's just at what degree or where it's at. But we are just like every other team across America. Now, with that, our coaching staff does do some things different. Those conversations, every coach has those conversations. Unfortunately, every coach has conversations that are just a kid's perspective is where it comes from. And so whether it's to the magnitude of, jail time or whatever the case is, living on their own, whether it's they're pregnant, or they got somebody pregnant, or those conversations to they got an A-. Those, depending on the kid, those are the same conversations. And so you've got to really know your kids, and that's where the relationship piece comes in. Because we've got kids on our team that are 4.0. We had 2 valedictorians this year, graduate. We got kids that are going to West Point. We've got a high level of kids, but their success is different for each kid. And so when you're talking about, we've got a baseball player coming in, we've got a Saudi Arabian coming in, we got everything. Well, that's that inclusion, which is huge. I mean, it's vital, especially today with the world going on. Like everybody's included. Everybody's welcome to wrestle. Like, why would we not want someone to wrestle? Why would we not want someone to learn?
It blows my mind. You have a young teenage. These are the only 3 I read about. And you have 100 kids on your team, but these 3, they're high school kids, and they're forced to live on their own. They're forced to raise themselves. They're forced to actually have the mindset to be able to find a mentor and find a room and get up in the morning and say, you know what, I'm going to go do this. It's got to be a totally different process than having a mom or dad being like, hey, the alarm, you got to get out. Come on. Breakfast is on the table. Let's do it. They've got to be doing different things. And just how are you guys able to mentor these kids and keep their mind right to where they don't fall into that? Well, my mom did it, so I need to go become a drug dealer. I need to go become a street gang member. I need to become a meth lab because that's all I saw. How do How do you keep those kids focused on the right things?
You know, first of all, you love them. You love them. That's it. You show them love. You show them servant leadership. You educate them. You show your passion for them, and you build that relationship. You know, that's I would say the first thing to anybody at any level, no matter who the kid is. You know, and then if you have something that they want, you know, a state champion obviously wants to get better, and they want that gold medal, and they're willing to work for that, and they know that if they truly write that down and they do that, it's a lot different than a kid that just wants to be on a practice squad. There's a lot different mentality there. And so, you know, I think that comes into play a lot, is you just got to build that relationship with the kid, and that's what it's about. And, you know, and like I said, every coach handles that different. You know, there's tough love coaches out there. There's teddy bears out there. There's the mix in the middle. But I think it still has to come. You got to give them something that they want to work for. You know, and we try to do that the best that we can. And we try, you know, like I said, to provide opportunities, and that's all we want. We want to educate them on wrestling. We want to show them what wrestling can do for them, and then they take off with it. You know, and so he asked a question, and I lost. Sorry, I kind of.
Oh, it's great. I mean, it's amazing because I just reading that article, I couldn't stop reading it, and I kept like going back to another paragraph, and then I kept going back to another one, and then I was like, wait a second. I missed some good stuff here. Let me go back to this one. And just, it was so powerful talking about what you guys do for these kids.
Well, I mean, so not to interrupt you, but I also say, you know, here's a big piece of this. So we spend, you know, with over 100 kids, you can't have 100 kids, or we can in our facility, and we've got a top-notch facility. I mean, our facility is new. It's 3 years new, and our superintendent came in about a year ago, and he looked at it, and we had practice, and he was like, you've outgrown it. He's like, this is brand new, and you guys have outgrown it. And I'm like, well, coach, you know, told him, I said, this is only half the group. The other half's down doing a mental session right now. And he was just like mind blown, you know? And I'm like, well, you're only seeing half of the team. The other half's doing a mental session. You know, and so that goes back to, you know, like we talked about earlier, you know, how much of practice are you spending mentally? You know, and we spend a ton with the kids working on their goals, and they do journals, and they learn about themselves. And for an adolescent, you know, for a pre-pubescent teen or a teenager that's going through puberty and a lot of emotions and mixed things, and they're getting a car. Like, these are big deals. Like, you got to make a big deal when a kid gets his license. That's freedom. But with freedom comes responsibility. And these things right here, these cell phones, like, that's one of the most powerful things in the world. I mean, this is like George Jetson stuff, you know? I mean, like, you can do whatever you want on that phone for the most part. And so we set up a mentor-mentee thing. And just like our coaches, I mean, our coaches, we've got mentors and mentees and mentorship going, and we just learn. And it's that time, you know, to debrief with each other and to get better, and iron sharpens iron. And if I've got this goal or this passion or this is where I'm seeing success on just doing a cartwheel, okay, maybe my mentor is able to cartwheel out and hit an arm drag off of something. And so now, okay, that's, you know, and so, and you saw it in the video, you know, we've got our female team, you know, Hannah did a great job, and Maya, she was on the other day. She was on Aspen Institute, had her on a webinar the other day talking about how important sports are to high school kids. And
she's the one at Iowa, right?
Yeah. And so she was a first-year wrestler this year, and then she made the state tournament. She qualified for state. This is her first year ever being on a mat. And, you know, and one of a highlight for her that stands out was our assembly duel. I'll never forget it as a coach. There were so many kids in the stands that were like, Maya's wrestling, like, she's, you know, and then she wins, and the place erupted. Like,
and she's the homecoming queen.
Yeah, and then qualified. Like, what a day for that. So you qualify. It's your first districts ever. You qualify to go to state, you know, and then you rush home 4.5 hours, throw on a dress, probably in a car. I don't know, you know. I mean, she's throwing on a dress on the way there, and her teammate, mentor and mentee Hannah qualifies for state too. She ends up becoming the first state medalists for Rolla on the female side. So Hannah qualifies for state as well. They both rush home. Hannah becomes the junior princess, which is like the queen for the juniors, I guess. And Maya is the queen, like crowned the queen, all in a day. Like, you don't get better than that, you know? Like, I mean, awesome. For a kid and the emotions and the excitement, but there's not just pride there, but the whole team is a part of that. Like, that's you know, and they're both very humble individuals, ladies, and they work hard, and, you know, and they serve, but it's that relationship piece where kids are way more powerful, I feel, than a coach. And I got this from Coach Haggerty. He's another great mentor. I don't talk to him as much as what I want, because he's just a very busy man. But, you know, Coach Haggerty is be your own best coach, you know, and for these kids to become their own best coach and see what they need and what they want and how to get there and get a roadmap and get a periodization plan and we talk about all those things, you know, and so for them to feed off their peers is probably way more valuable than feeding off what I'm going to give them. You know, I mean,
and you know, that may go back to the question Bob had. How do you retain kids that are not initially successful on the mat? So mentoring as well.
Yeah, so you've got to have a mentor. You got to have a mentee system where they come in and they talk every day and they talk about life, not just wrestling, but life. And then they see, you know, here's another thing is my kids see me fail every day. Like, I fail every day as a human, as a dad. I mean, you know, my wife, God love her, you know, I mean, the hours that we put in and the passion that she's stuck with. And, you know, for our anniversary last year, she drove to Colorado just so she could see me, you know? And so it's one of those things that she's given up so much, and she's a selfless woman. And it's a beautiful thing. But, you know, I talk to the kids all the time, like during season, marriage is 50-50, right? Everybody says marriage is 50-50. Well, I'm telling you right now, during wrestling season, it's about 80-20, and I'm the 20. And you know,
I don't know where marriage is 50-50 at either. I don't know. Whoever made up those statistics are probably not married. I think the person that made up the statistic is not married, because there is no 50-50.
Right. But my kids see me fail all the time. The coaching staff had this periodization plan that we created. And it was, I mean, we got our heart rates down. We got everything. I'll share it with whoever. Like, it doesn't matter. But it was based off our duels and our tournaments and everything, and when we were going to peak at the right time, and our diet, our nutrition, our hydration. Like, we had everything in it. Psychology piece, like our journals went along with our periodization. Everything went. And then at Christmas break, we had several injuries and several things happen, and we had to just throw it out the window. Like, you know what? Coach failed. Like, we were wrong, and we had to go in and you know, hey, be humble, and humility is a powerful thing. But the kids are so powerful, and they can read right through it. So to keep that retention, to go back to that question, to keep that retention, they got to see that success comes through failure. And the more that you succeed, the more you want to succeed, I feel. If it comes easy, then everybody would do it. Like, you hear that all the time. If it's easy, everybody would do it.
I agree with you, because my son never got to experience, like, I don't know, I'm learning, you guys have little ninjas or youth or cadets or schoolboys or whatever, all this stuff I'm learning about that kids should do when they're in elementary school. Well, my son never experienced that. He went right into a new program, 2 years old, and was right into high school level and lost 30 straight. But I don't think I would have wanted it any other way, because I think losing those 30 straight for the rest of his life, he's never gonna experience loss like that again. I mean, that's just something that's going to teach him how to overcome. And now every time he's on the mat is so much better than the last time, because he experienced that. So I don't know if I wanted him going through like those wins and losses right away. I think I like that he got his ass kicked for a little bit.
And he got emotionally, he was strong, obviously, and physically he was weaker, whether it was technique or strength or whatever the case is. So now he's working on that physical side of things with his emotional strength. And so that's where you see a lot of youth kids. They go to a lot of these tournaments. Well, and you see Jordan Burroughs, Ben Askren, all these guys. And Ben Askren's another mentor of mine, him and Coach Smith at Mizzou. I wouldn't be where I'm at without those guys. I'll say it. And that shield and those things come from Marcus Hayne and Ben and Max Askren and those guys. And I can get into that way later. But I literally, those guys I owe like everything. John Mesenbrink, their high school coach, those things. I picked their brains. But anyways, when you beat Super Mario Brothers, right? Like the first time back in '86 or whatever, and you beat Mario Brothers, like it went on a shelf and collected dust for 25 years, until my daughter comes out and says, "Hey, what's this?" Because you beat it, it came easy. I beat it, and we go on, But
I'm still trying to beat it. I got it downstairs. I'm like, I can only get to 6-1 or whatever.
Right. And so, but it's one of those things that, we see that a lot. And so, you got to teach the process. I truly think that's kind of a roundabout way answer to that question is you got to get to know the kid and know what drives them and what they want to thrive at and where they want to be. Because it's all about them. It's not about me. It's not about our staff. It's not about the wins or losses. It's not about that. It's about them and what do they want out of it. And you got to know their why. Like that's a big thing. Like, why are they wrestling? Why are they still going 0-30 and coming and showing up every day? Like there has to be a reason, and if their reason is mom and dad are driving me to this tournament, mom and dad, and you hear this a lot with youth is, mom and dad spent X number of dollars to go to this youth tournament and they know it. At 7, 8 years old, they know what you're investing. They know the time. You don't have to say anything. They know that. And so that automatically puts pressure on a kid, whether it's they mean to or not. They know that, hey, mom and dad, we've stayed at a hotel. We went out to eat. We've got gas. We got an entry fee. We've got practice. We've got all this invested in this. I better win. I better bring home a medal. And that's where I think you see a lot of kids get excited about getting a bye or getting an open in the youth. Like you see it at every youth tournament. They go look at a bracket or their mom or dad sees it on the phone. They're like, oh, you got to buy. And the kid's like, yeah, and it's like, that's the exact opposite of what we want. Like that, don't you?
As a parent, I want to watch him wrestle. So as a parent, like my wife will be sitting next to me and she'll be like, oh man, he's got to buy. And I'm like, why, oh man? She goes, that means we got to wait 2.5 hours before he wrestles. Like, it's not like the kid's like, I'm on the second round. I'll go watch my buddies wrestle, go hang out with my friends, go to the, whatever the food thing is behind the closed doors that we can't see. And they'll go do their thing, right? They wait in. But the parents were in the stands going, oh man, a bye? Damn, I want to watch them wrestle. Like, I don't know.
Right. Well, and that's where like our little ninjas. So our little ninjas is our little guys, and they don't compete. And I this is straight from Ben Askren and them, but don't we want ninjas? Like, doesn't every little kid want to be a ninja? Like, I mean, my daughter loves doing, when she was 3, she's doing one-handed cartwheels, okay? And so it was one of those things like now I'm like, hey, okay, you can do a one-hand cartwheel. That's pretty cool, but let's become a ninja, And so that's the whole goal of our little ninjas is they love the room. They come in the room and I want them to be coachable and I want them to love the room. That's it. Like, and through the process, we're going to teach them how to be an athlete. Like we've got dummies. They don't really wrestle each other. They throw dummies around. They do headstands. They do, bear crawl to crab crawl. We work hip heist. We work fundamental wrestling moves. But if a kid never wrestles again, they're going to love that room. And when they, they're always hopefully going to remember that room in a positive way. So when they get away from it and then another sport, they have discouragement or whatever, they come right back in the room and they've got that excitement of, hey, this is going to be awesome. And, and you look at guys like Jordan Burroughs and them that didn't start until later and look at the success they're having. Like, and so, I just, like I said,
I spoke to a kid. God, where was he? He grew up in East New Jersey, the part that's kind of right on the Philadelphia border, right around there. And he said that Burroughs lived like in the community right next to him. And he says, I see what he's doing now, but he's like, man, I'm telling people like, you should have seen him at 16, right? Like it was a different animal and stuff. And man, I just, I mean, I could talk to you for hours, right? But I mean, I love what you're doing. And when I kept reading the program, I've gotten to talk to, I don't know, the first show this week was number 200 and I do 20 a week. I did adjust my calendar last night to 2 time slots a day moving forward, just because I'm seeing that coaches are back out trying to get work done and they're back in the offices. And schools are allowing people back in.
We were supposed to leave? Wait a minute. We were supposed to leave?
Yeah. So
This has been like a great time, man.
Yeah, sustaining 4 a day. I never thought that would be possible forever. But obviously through this, it's been great. And if people think I can sustain 4 a day, then let me know. I'll put the time slots back in. But I've got them 11 to 4 now. But I've gotten to meet so many coaches and clubs and rooms, and then I'm reading about your room, and I'm like, man, I'd love for my son to spend a few days in that room with those kids. And I like to take him, or like to do that, because I think kids need to be, kids that are not facing some adversity need to be around kids that are facing adversity, and they need to be intermingled. And I think that both of them learn to appreciate each other. Like, one side is like, wow, that's pretty cool. The other side is like, wow, I'm thankful for what I have. You know what I mean? So,
sure. So here's something that we do every year. Every year we do a privilege walk. And so I put a $20 bill on the other side of the room, and you can YouTube it. There's 5 million of them. But we put a $20 bill on, or a $100 bill on the other side of the room, and everybody starts against the other wall. And we say, okay, if you've got both parents, mom and dad, still live at the home, take 1 step forward. If you've got, a private strength and conditioning coach, take 1 step forward. And so at the end of it, when I get done asking all the questions, you got these kids that have a little more access to things and are a little more privileged. They see that they're right next to that $100 bill. And then you've got other kids who are still against the wall. And we're like, okay, we're still trying. Everybody still has the same goal. When this race starts, I'm going to hit the whistle, and we're going to race to this $100 bill, and the winner gets it. And so it's the same thing. And this is the state title. Everybody is chasing the state title. And so when I hit the whistle, we're going to race to it. But guess what? You guys have a head start. And what that does is that shows those kids that are right next to the $100 bill, their excuses are kind of gone because they're way ahead of the other kids. Does that make sense? And the kids against the wall. Yeah,
I've seen that. I've seen a version of that on different social medias too, where people are like, I don't know, if you had, they do like the racial version of it and the religion version of it.
There's a ton of it, and we just twisted it the rest of it. Yeah.
All right, so I got 10 questions for you. Ready?
Okay, yeah, because I got to get off here because I got another call. So yeah,
I got to get off too because I got another call. I've got 3 more calls today. Well, no, now 4 because I think I got a surprise one at the end of the day.
Awesome.
Got it off. So, all right, made right or steak and shake?
Made right, hands down. Made right. Local establishment, baby.
Yeah. Fugitive Beach or Merrimack Park?
Oh, that's a tough one because my friends, I've got friends that own Fugitive Beach, but I love the trout fish, and I trout fish every day, so Merrimack.
Pryor's or Alexa's Pizza?
Oh, Alex's is great, but Pryor's is like homemade crust. I got to go for family. My family does Pryor's. I go Pryor's.
I like it. The Ozark Mountains or Rocky Falls?
Oh, Rocky Falls.
Brothers or Bandanas?
Oh, who's Brothers? I don't know Brothers.
I don't know. It said it's a barbecue place by you.
Oh, yeah, no, I got to say Bandanas because I don't. Bandanas is in Rolla, so.
Yeah. Mark Twain Forest or Little Prairie?
Oh, Mark Twain Forest. Yeah, because I like to hike.
Los Cazadores or El Maguey?
You're killing me because both of them donate to the wrestling team. So
push.
We win. Like all counts. It depends on which Saturday.
The Antique Mall or the Ozark Theater?
Oh, I've got several wrestlers. Actually, Maya was one, so I got to say the theater because I want them to do a variety of things. So I got to say theater.
Oh, nice.
Although I've got a kid wrestling for SIU Edwardsville who has a booth at the Antique Mall. He does like baseball cards and stuff, and so I got a booth. We got a booth there too. So.
That's cool. The St. James Cafe or O'Doggies?
O'Doggies is a hot dog place that's right there. I got to say the St. James Cafe because that's alma mater.
O'Doggies seems cool.
Oh yeah, no, it's just hot dogs. He goes around. It's awesome.
All right, these 2 places seem pretty cool. My 10th question. Stonehenge or the Mule Trading Post?
Ah! Stonehenge is obviously the replica, and it's right here in Rolla with the S&T. But I gotta say the Mule Trading Post, because you never know who or what is gonna walk in there. So.
Yeah, it seems like I'm looking at all the cool stuff in your area, and I'm like, that's pretty cool. First of all, I type in like Rolla attractions, and usually when I type in attractions for a town, I get tons of them, right? And like 5 things popped up. I'm like, oh shoot, this must be a smaller town. So I had to dig a little deeper to get kind of around it. But hey man, first things first, I know you got to run, so do I, but man, keep feeding into these kids and these families, because I know, I come from a law enforcement family. My dad was very involved in the PAL and the youth programs, and I think a lot of what's going on in America today is because there's not enough people like you talking to these kids and keeping them from becoming that what their parents unfortunately have been involved in, because they see the easy money or they see the easy living, or that's all they've been taught. So we just need more great coaches like yourself that are in areas around the country that have troubled youth, and they're getting them on the mat, and they're mentoring them, and I mean, gosh, what would you say? You and your wife have an open adoption, so I mean,
Yeah.
You guys are fully enthralled in doing things for people that are in need, and that's just awesome, man. So God bless you, and God bless what you're doing, and I hope.
Hey, I appreciate you. I appreciate what's going on, and we've got great parents. We've got a great community here. Like I said, our community is phenomenal. We got an athletic director and administration that supports us. We're going to do our first out-of-state tournament this year, and we're going to take the kids to the Louisville Slugger Museum afterwards and everything, and show, give some life experiences, and it's our assistant coaches and our families that support it. There's way more volunteers than ever are paid that do the groundwork and do the work, and so I truly appreciate them, and our support system, our parents, obviously the kids. It's all about them, man. It's they drive it. They drive it. Our captains and coffee, our leadership thing, the kids drive it. They want to do well, and kids want goals, and they work towards them. So I just get to be a part of it. I get to learn from them, and I'm blessed to do that. So
yeah, it's awesome.
I appreciate your time. I appreciate what you're doing, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. And I started a little private room. It's a little private group on my page, the Ward Wrestling Live page. If you hit groups, there's a little private group there. Feel free to the video you sent me. Feel free to throw it up in there.
Okay.
Anything about Rolla or whatever you're doing, feel free to share it there. And I appreciate you. Said, what did Bob say? I think Marty has 30 hours in his day. No wonder he's so successful.
Hey, if there's any coach or wrestler or anybody that has anything, email me. I'll throw my email on there, or you can, or whatever. Email me, ask me questions, whatever. I mean, there's no secrets, man. It's all about everybody else. We learn from each other. So,
well, like I said, I appreciate you, and I mean, better humans are being created because of you. So thank you.
Hey, I appreciate it. You guys have a great day.
So you too.